At this time, I would like to invite up Cliff and Sue Parrish. They are the founders and leaders of Freedom from Within, which is a prison ministry, and they actually took a group of people to Vandalia that some of them are going to be speaking today. So if I can invite Cliff and Sue up, and they're going to take it from here.
Thanks, Pastor Josh. Hey, it's great to be here. You know, in preparation to be able to share today, I was thinking about, back in 2018 is where Sue and I were ordained into prison ministry in this church right here. You were on the signature there, on our ordination. You were just kind of coming into the fold. It was awesome. But since then, with your support and the community support, 1,400 people that are incarcerated have gone through our program. 1,400. All right. And while many of them are still incarcerated, those that have been released, about 350, you do the math, it's not a great math, but about 350, only 5 have ever returned back to prison since 2018. So our program, is about instilling godly principles in the individual and knowing that that's going to last, transformation lasts a lifetime. And so that's really the success because, when you're living in truth, you know that your future is good. Our program tends to last over anywhere from a year to 3 years. But recently in Vandalia, they said, hey, listen, due to some logistics over there, is there a way that you can shorten that up? Because we have 150 people on the waiting list, and we're just not going to get through them all before they're released. And so since we own our material that we've created, we established and developed the Foundations Workshop. And it was like a 3-day missions trip down in Vandalia. It's about 4 hours away. And so think about taking a 16-week, each class is 16 weeks, there's 4 classes. Think about taking our first class for 16 weeks and knocking it down to 14 hours across 3 days. There was six sessions, 14 hours. And out of those 14 hours, about 9 of those hours were in small groups. And in order to pull this off, I needed to put together a team. And so Marty Morris, can you come on up here, Marty? And Chad was part of that. And so I thought, well, you could listen to me talk, or you can hear from firsthand what it's like from these 2 guys that were there experiencing what was like in prison for the first time. So we'll come back and circle back in a little bit. But Marty, you want to start us off?
I was definitely appreciative of being invited to be part of it. I felt blessed to be there. Part of what drew me to wanting to do it is understanding how a lot of the guys that are there grew up and what they went through, and I felt I could, relate to them. And when we got there, they were very accepting of us there. They appreciated us being there, and even just the change I saw in them from the first day we were there till when we left on Sunday, I saw a tremendous change in the groups that were there. There was a total different attitude. They realized we were there to love on them and to help them. I think I took away as much as I gave from a lot of those guys. They're really good people. A lot of them had great attitudes, great outlooks on when they are released and what they plan to do to excel in their lives afterwards. And and then reading into a lot of the material Cliff created, it's not an easy program for these guys to get into. He even gave us some homework, and for them to be successful in this, they worked really hard at it. And at the end, when Cliff offered to have them come up and pray with anyone that they felt comfortable praying with, I just felt so blessed that so many people came up to us and really wanted to pray with us. And one of them that really stood out was a young man that told me he was shot 10 times, he was in prison. The only thing he was concerned about was his mom and how she was going to handle things while he was in there. So we prayed on that, and I hope that everything we did gave a lot of people comfort. And again, I felt very blessed to be part of it, and I look forward to hopefully being part of it again.
My name's Chad Lanford. I've been attending this church for a couple years now, and I absolutely enjoy it. So I got to meet Cliff and Sue about 2 years ago. It was our first personal sit-down interaction with them. Got to know them over time, and one time they said, hey, about 18 months ago, they said, why don't you come to prison with us? So they invited my wife and I into Kewanee prison for the first time. And my wife, who's there, we're walking into a prison sitting next to individuals that were there from anything from alcohol to drugs to murder and rape and everything else you could think of, right? All those things that you think of. And I walk in, and it's just this environment where they welcomed us in and loved us and treated us like we were there for nothing but them, to help them and bring them the Word of God. My wife randomly left me in the middle of this and was hanging out and sitting in between people, just like sitting next to you guys right now. And the transformation, so that was a graduation. So my first experience was a graduation of the Freedom from Within's first class, their first session. And it was amazing to see what people that are incarcerated have been through and what they did and where they've come to. But that wasn't the real thing that hit me. And I got to sit through I think I've been in 8 to 10 times now. And seeing it from the very beginning of their class all the way to the very end of the fourth class and the graduation of that class, where these people have come from to who they are today. As an entrepreneur, I would hire every one of them. The people and who they are is utterly amazing. I've seen people on the outside, right, us, that are 10 times worse than the people they've become, and it's all because of God and what Freedom from Within is doing. So we'll fast forward to this, right? Mr. Brown and Vandalia in this last class. Cliff and I were sitting down talking, and I'm like, hey, man, it's only 3 days. You can't have transformation in 3 days. It's not possible. And I guess I was wrong. I questioned God's ability. So we have 50 people in there. I think 49 showed up that day. And I sat back. I was sick. It was the worst sickness I've had in my life. So I'm not on my game, and everything's going and going and going. But just to watch from day 1 to the end of day 3, the transformation that God moved in these individuals. We took a 16-week class, and we did it in 3, and I watched people change. I didn't get to do our debrief. We do a debrief on Vandalia on the way home. It's about a 3-hour drive, so an hour and a half in. We stop and we get food and we talk. I just wanted to get home and go to bed. So laying in bed that night, I texted Cliff, and I go, hey, I want to apologize. I already apologized to God. And I want to apologize to you. The transformation that I saw in 3 days through your program and through God, mainly, with this was just utterly amazing. So what this church supports, what I've now partnered with this team, it's amazing. If you ever get the opportunity to go see it and be able to go into prison with them, I recommend it. It will change your life. So I'm looking forward to many more opportunities, and if you get the chance, it's definitely worth your time. Thank you.
Well, thanks, guys, for sharing. That's awesome. Like Chad was mentioning, there's a picture of Mr. Brown holding a book. And Mr. Brown has been through the program several times, so he was also a facilitator at the weekend. And so that was very helpful because, they had many small groups. But right now, I just wanted to talk about someone that had gotten out of prison. Sometimes our students give us a call when they get out. And this particular gentleman had called us when we were on our way home from prison class, and the phone rang, and I'm like, oh, hi. What are you doing? He's like, oh, I got out of prison. I'm like, awesome. Congratulations. When did you get out? 2 hours ago. I'm like, oh. I thought, wow, that is awesome. So I'm like, no one's ever called us that quickly. And he's very dear and near to my heart. Anyway, so that what just made more brownie points. He also has several of the books, and we kept in contact several times since he's been released. He even went to one of the conferences of Andrew Womack with us, and I was like, when are you going to come and visit our church? It's been a while now, and you haven't come to our church. So a couple of weeks ago, we actually planned that he would come here, and then we found out we were speaking today. So I'm like, okay, so this was not planned. It's just another one of those awesome God things. So we would like to invite Manuel to come up and share what it's like to be a product of the product.
Thank you. Man, these lights are bright. Well, thank you for the worship team. I mean, y'all are awesome. Pastor Josh, he's been in prison with us too. I guess from my experience being inside, there's a hunger and thirst, a big hunger and thirst. It's not all like criminals and mean and fighting all the time. It happens, but we're starving for change. You know what I mean? We're looking for it, and they gave us a pretty good platform. I think when I met Cliff, I wasn't really into any kind of transformation talk or any kind of, I wasn't there yet. I was still trying to be tough, and jailbird or whatever you want to call it. And Cliff came in and he's like, man, I got to bring something for y'all guys. I got to bring something different, man, because these little classes that we're doing, they're hitting the surface, but they're not really getting, in there. And he's like, what can I do for y'all? And I was like, oh, man, just bring a bunch of music, and we can just come in here and pray. He's like, no, we got to do better than that, And him and Bob, man, they came up with a class, the Foundations for Life class. And, when he brought it in, and I went in there, I was like, oh, my God, this guy. It has I didn't understand what he was trying to say because all the language was a love language, right? It was forgiveness and like intimate friendships and just weird stuff that I just really, wasn't really ready for at the time. And when I started the class, to be honest, I was just trying to get out my cell. I just wanted to get away from the chaos and go into this room, and be safe or whatever. And I wasn't really putting too much effort into the class. But I got into an altercation. I got into a fight, one of the fights that happened in prison. And they sent me to the hole for 30 days. And when I was sitting there, one of the workers, one of the inmates, walked by and slid a packet under my door. It was a homework for the next week for the Foundations class. And I was like, man. So I still had my old packets that I didn't do. I didn't do none of the homework on. And I went back and I got to start reading them. And I think God, he works in mysterious ways because that fight had nothing to do with me. Nothing. I didn't know the guy. No, he was just tired of being tired and wanted to go to the hole. And he picked me. And I'm there too, I'm like, okay. So I got time to spend intimately going through the details. And I don't know when it happened. Within the 30 days that I was in there, something changed to where I started feeling what the material was saying. And I'm probably the last person they should have let out of prison for my history, right? Like, don't let that guy out. In fact, you based it on my history, I should have probably been there forever. But, thank God for the love of Jesus, like people, there's good people out there. And that love that y'all feel when y'all come in, it's genuine, man. Whenever you're doing time like that, it's a heavily saturated in hate. You get it from the guards, you get it from your family, in the world. You don't have no more friends. So whenever they bring a spotlight of that in, it's a blessing. And I've almost been out 2 years now. And thank you. And I don't want to be too long-winded, but when I was getting out, I was just telling my fiance, I was like, man, I was kind of scared because everybody was telling me, like, man, you're going to struggle, man. It's going to be a struggle. Don't think you're going to have it easy. But they don't know my Jesus, So I haven't struggled at all. I keep jobs. I rise to the top. Every job I get, rise to the top. And that's from going through and making it a part of my life, what they were coming and teaching us. I did all 4 classes. I got the books. I got my personalized books. And I think that, to end what I'm trying to, my point here is that, when you show someone love, even when you don't like them, because I'm pretty sure in this room, you've probably heard of someone that committed a crime, like, that guy should be in prison, right? A lot of times, even with y'all, being out here, we're judged by the worst moments of our life. You know what I mean? And even if it's just one act, I did 10 years, for 5 minutes worth of a crime. You know what I mean? I was like, good Lord, those are not good math. I had to change something, right? But, I haven't looked back. I haven't struggled, kept every job, rose to the top, go-getter. But I think it's the material that I studied. I've never come across that before. I never heard, of being a good employee. I never had a job until I got out, and I was 33 when I got out, I believe. So I would try to buy a house. They're like, we need your W-2s. I'm like, I don't even know where that is or what it is, So, but God is good. The only struggles that I have, I put in myself in, But he's the ultimate transformer. You know what I mean? I can tell you that much. But thank you for your time.
Thanks everyone for sharing, and thank to all of you for being an encouragement to let us do what we believe we've been called to do. It's really been an amazing time for us. If there's anybody interested in following what we're doing or being a guest, we have our newsletter that we try to do every month. We send it via email, but we also print some copies out here. There's this one's out here specifically talking about the Vandalia weekend. So make sure that you pick up a copy or get on our list. And there's that QR code. You can get on our list. If you're interested in the mission, being part of a missions trip, whether it could be 1 day or 3 days. Vandalia wants us back. Other places want us to do this foundations workshop. So we're going to try to do several of them every year. Come and talk to us. We're looking for people that like to facilitate groups. If that's something that you don't want to do, we also have other roles inside prison as well as outside prison. Many of you have already been helpful doing stuff on the outside. There's a lot of logistics back and forth. But thank you for this time, and we look forward to just continue to see transformation, God's people coming together and showing what it's like to love one another. So thank you.